before we get to the item B, fire station, board. I got some letters from Frank I can pass down. He got a price on the Army site too. I can read that to y'all too. Well, I'm not gonna wait to explain it first. Do the best. On the 119 site, we was required distances from any blue line stream. I think we're 25 to 30 feet, whatever it's supposed to be. Right now, it's one of the only two sites we have that need to look at this point. That's the Armory and the 119 site. We tried to go out and find other land. Property's expensive. They don't meet the requirements. There's not contrary to what people say, there's not a bunch of places we can put this fire station. This is it. I mean, did anybody else find another site this week, in the last 2 weeks? Any of y'all? I mean, we're pretty much stuck with what we got unless we can come up with something different. It's been said that we're supposed to have a site down at 140. That's not true. The 140 exit, we get paid money for police and fire, and it doesn't require us to have a fire station at the 140 exit. If I saw somewhere that somebody had written that the 140 exit, that Daniels and U.S. Steel had offered us land, that's absolutely untrue. Okay, Daniels and U.S. Steel have not offered us land on Rex Lake Road to put a fire station. At one time, they said, if y'all will build 1,500 apartments, we'll try to give you some land for a fire station. That was the deal. It was a trade-off. Now, I think they went on down and said, well, we'll take 1,000. You build 1,000 apartments at the 140 exit, we'll try to help you get we'll give you some land for a fire station. I called them this week, said, where's the land at the Rex Lake Road that we've got for this fire station y'all keep talking about? And they said, well, we don't have it. They're not going to give us $13 a square foot land to put a fire station on unless there's something in it for the people down there. I mean, it's too valuable. We're stuck with what we got. I mean, in 3 years, I think it is, we're going to be living on 3 cents. We don't get occupational tax. We don't get money from Bass Pro for sales tax or for property, for ad valorem tax. Occupational tax goes to school. The 4 cent of sales tax goes to school. Having 3 fire stations is going to be hard to do. And the problem is, Ziegler Road, the fire station was too far away from a bunch of people. It did not meet the requirements. We got to looking, there was about 70 properties that it did not meet the requirement on West 78. Rex Lake Road, we could use a place on Rex Lake Road that would give us 3 stations that would meet the requirements. The only problem is we don't have a piece of land on Rex Lake Road. What we're stuck with right now is 119, where we own land, the Armory, where we own land. There's problems with both of those sites. Now, as far as the Corps of Engineers, people saying that I didn't let Corps of Engineers talk to people, that's because that's the City of Leeds piece of property. The Corps of Engineers said they thought they were brought out here by the City of Leeds, but they didn't have any plans to go by or anything to go by when they came out here. They called up and said, where exactly are you building the site? The engineer had to send them a plan. That what they made their initial assessment on was 3 acres of land that went all the way to the river. We're only building on the front 1.5 acres. So the Corps of Engineers had to come out and do another site survey because of that. The site survey that they did said that we were within 10 feet of a wetland on the back right-hand corner. Our site was not going to be on a wetland. All that was going to be on a wetland probably was some of the fields that we might be putting in there. So the Corps of Engineers said we had to get a delineation survey for those wetlands, but if there was less than 1/10 of an acre, we would be cleared totally on that. We would not have to do anything about the wetlands. If it's more than 1/10 of an acre, then we would have to do something about it. Now, the fact that they were 10 feet from the back of the land, they said you cannot fill it in, you have to take it off-site. Frank Spencer sent a price for taking it off-site, the difference in taking it off-site and filling it in, and I've got that here. The price is $1,100. Now I'll pass that down. It says, the Corps of Engineers has visited the above referenced site and determined that there might be wetlands in the rear of the proposed fire station site where the earth undercut materials to be installed. It will require the city to have a wetland mitigation study conducted by a consultant to determine the extent of the wetlands on the site. Highland Technical Service has submitted a proposal of $2,650 to do the study. It appears that the area where the earth undercut will be wasted is the area that will be impacted by the wetlands. I contacted the low bid contractor for the project and asked for a price to haul this material to the limb dump and place the material to the rear of the site. It will cost $6 a cubic yard to haul the material to the limb dump. We'll have less clearing, grubbing, and grass, and the result of this change are as follows. And start on either end. Looking at that. Okay. The mitigation study, which we will have to do, I'll pass it down, is by HTSI, and it's $2,650. There they are. Pass that down and come back this way when we get through. All right. There's no underground stream under that water. The runoff is going into the sewer. It's not going into the from the washing trucks and doing different things like that. The impact of that, as far as being in a floodplain, we've been cleared on that already. As far as the way we're doing that, ADM, it's not time for the permit on ADM yet. SWIMA, we comply with SWIMA. The rural water said they're not going to get involved because of the politics of it. EPA, we've checked out with them. ALDOT's approved it. The Corps of Engineers, we've got this one little wetland area. They don't think there's going to be a problem with that as long as we get a mitigation study. And they think it's going to be less than 1/10 of an acre. There's no historical implications on it. And we're a long ways from the river. So whether we vote on this site and approve it or not, the site is one of the only two sites we got. We vote to not take the bid, then that's fine, but I think we should hold it in our back pocket in case we have to go back to it. If we don't, we're going to end up without a fire station, something's wrong with the Armory site. That's what the problem's going to be. Frank sent a site improvement cost associated with the Armory Fire Station. That I've looked at the site development costs associated with above referenced sites. My understanding that a rear entry to the station from US 78 would be desirable to keep fire truck traffic to a minimum on Park Drive. The site development costs, including earth cut and fill on site, is estimated at $57,785. I recommend that the following actions take place before proceeding with constructing the fire station at the Armory site. This is provisionally now. We haven't voted on the 119 site. A traffic impact study including striping plan for the entrance to Park Drive. We said we'd probably have to have a decel lane, and the fact that it does not line up with Roosevelt Street would prevent us from having a emergency light like we would have on on 119. He said unless we lined up, they would not okay that, right, Kevin? No,
I have a question.
wait a minute.
Well, I just have a question. The road that's cut in there on that property doesn't line up with President Street, so how are we getting the red lights there?
Because it has to do with distance, and it has to do with the fact there's no other roads entering into that area. The road is down too far from it. There's no cross traffic coming in inside the boundary that the lights would be. You take a light and you put it after President Street and you put it before the other entrance. There's no other roads cutting into it. You go out here and you put a light before the site where you turn in. You put a light down here before the site you turn in. In between those two sites, you've got Roosevelt Street. That's the difference. We all start flapping about it. Okay. All right. So says that concurrence from ALDOT that a right turn lane from US Highway number 78 and emergency traffic signal will be permitted by the state. We have to get them to approve it. A study from a geotechnical engineer for underground storage tanks on the site. So those three things are possible. yes, it is $50,000 cheaper, but if there's underground tanks and we can't get a light, what's public safety worth? We got a splash park up here with little bitty kids and we can't get these lights. What's that gonna mean? I'm not married to the 119 site. I just want a site for a fire station. So, I mean, whatever we can do, that's fine with me. But there's problems with the Armory. It's not just coming up here sitting in the fire station at the Armory and there not being any problems. You know, and so there's, but he does not feel like AlDOT will give us these emergency lights for this site unless we redo the driveways to hook up with Roosevelt Street. That's gonna be a big deal. That means the fire station has to go to the other side of the road, the back of the fire station will be to the road, and, you know, it's not gonna look that good coming in town. So, I mean, but public safety is important. I mean, how important is it to have, you know, all this cross traffic? You got a business coming out across the street there. The Armory, the 119 site was desirable because it had one exit for just fire trucks, okay? And you had a light before and after. It's more than 500 feet from the park entrance. This is in a park entrance. That's the difference. So, I mean, there's problems with them both. I agree. But, you know, been trying since 1992 to get something done about this. And, you know, and I know people say, oh, the mayor don't listen to the will of the people. But you don't hear the people that call me with a $5,000 fire rate and a $3,000 fire rate and things like that saying, when you gonna get me a fire station? And they've been calling for 26 months about it. That's the difference. Now, people that living right by it and don't have higher fire rates, I can understand why you wouldn't want to have it. But people that live down the valley that's got a $5,000 fire due, and people from other cities that when people wanting to move here saying, you don't want to move to Leeds, you'll be paying $5,000 for fire insurance. Once you ought to move somewhere else, because they got a terrible fire rate. That's my problem as administrator of this city. I've got to get fire dues down because people don't want to move here because fire rates are too high.
What happened to the property on Ziegler?
The property on Ziegler, it's gonna cost close to $100,000 and it didn't meet the requirements. Too far away from some of the other houses. Plus it's gonna cost us close to $250,000 to run 3 fire stations. That's the problem. I mean, there's people that still weren't gonna be serviced by it.
Are we running 3 fire stations or 2?
2.
Okay, you mentioned 3 times, I was wondering.
But it's fine. I mean, whatever y'all wanna do is fine, but the problem is we've got to get a fire station. I mean, I just can't, it's just, I mean, it's big news against this city when people are talking about moving here, businesses coming here. We've got a 5.9 fire rate. People around us have got 4. What's the problem? And, you know, people can beat up on me all they want to. All I'm trying to do is get a fire station in.
Well, where are we supposed to go from here? Are we supposed to be voting on it or what?
Well, what's been suggested, and I don't know what y'all, but there's 4 things that's been suggested to me by the engineer. We could get a wetland delineation study for $2,650, and that would take 2 to 3 weeks. We could get a traffic study for $3,500 for this, to see if this site's any good. We can get a tank assessment for probably $2,500. We can do any of that, or we can do all of it, and then make a decision based on that. Frank says we got 45 days left on the bid before we have to tell the people before we're in breach of the bid.
I'm not really worried about the bid. My problem is, Mayor, you know, I realize that you put a lot of work into this here. But Frank been wrong before on a lot of things. I've been here a long time, and I do respect him for some of his decisions. But, you know, I don't know whether, I look at the point about the water. People been getting water down there at that spring for years, ever since I was a baby. And, you know, I just don't want to go down there disturbing that spring. It's one down there, I know it is. I mean, and my problem is, we got a place up here we can put it. We only got 2 places. I'm not gonna vote, it ain't no sense of wasting a whole lot of time. I'm not gonna vote on it going down about spring. I mean, these people get their water cut off. Maybe they never had their water cut off. But I guarantee you, that's the most irritating thing that is in the world. And like I mentioned the last time, when summer hits and Leeds is the only place to have water, everybody has to cut back on their water and everything. That's important. And maybe we look into the futures for long term, or longevity for our grandkids, their kids, and their grandkids. I don't want to touch the water. That's just it in a nutshell. Now, I'd rather come up here and put it up here at the Civic Center. That's the second choice. I make a motion right now that we put it here at where the armor was at and move forward.
Gotta vote on the other bid first. There's no, you know, the water
I'm not
board.
trying to disturb you and
Oh,
what
you're
you're
not
trying to
disturbing
do.
me. But the water board alone, I mean, they dug on their own side and put pipes and stuff in. I mean, we're not going down below the subbasin. The geologicals on it said it was fine. Now, I understand, you know, everybody's worried about the water there and stuff, but you know, one thing you gotta look at here at the Army, I wish we had a third side. If I had an option for that, I'd be all for it. I mean, it's just gotta be in the area. The thing about the Army is, you can't get those, emergency lights, and you can't, then, you know, think about it, you're taking a 50-foot truck, pulling it out into park traffic, and then you're pulling it out into a road with no way to stop the traffic besides the lights on the truck itself. That's the problem.
Well, you know, there again, I'm not gonna knock Frank, but Frank's an engineer, and we got to trust some of his decisions.
Right.
But I never forget building a cat room up there, and Frank said one was gonna be but a little rock bigger than the doggone cat room itself. It took us years to do that. Now we're talking about going down here dealing with our water, and that's something that I just don't want to tackle that. I mean, I want to see everyone with protection, and they need that. And I don't want to see no one paying no $3,000 a year for fire protection, but to safeguard some things that's going to affect the whole city as a whole. When you talk about water, it means a lot. These people come in here, they make decisions for us, and they leave us with the problem. And the city has to pay for it. And if they can live out here, it might make a difference, but they don't. And I guess I've been here too long to realize that they done made a lot of mistakes just coming out here and telling us what we need, and then they walk away, and here we're stuck with the problem ourselves. So if we got tanks down here that need to be removed, let's remove those tanks and let's move forward with building this fire station that's gonna help everybody in this city.
Then it's gonna cost you $200,000 to move on.
Well, you know what Frank told me the last time he was standing there, they hadn't did the whole survey on the whole part down there, how to direct that water. That could cost us another $200,000 or $300,000 like that.
Well, the whole thing about it is,
He didn't have a whole
I mean, do we need to get some more stuff answered, or do you want to just go ahead and vote now? I mean, that's what, all I'm asking. We gotta vote on the bid now, if y'all wanna vote on the bid. But,
I'm ready to vote now.
Well, I think we'd be acting,
But-
as he's accusing Frank, of if we acted now on this side, that we have 3 things we need done before we know,
right,
that would be irresponsible in my opinion.
he's saying we need a traffic study to see if the, ALDOT's gonna give us what we need to protect our citizens from having a bad,
We can do
traffic
that.
problem out here.
We can do that. I mean, that's fine. I think it needs to be done.
Can that be done within the 45 days?
Absolutely. All this stuff can be done in 2 to 3 weeks.
It's just that we keep adding amounts for studies.
What do you want to do, the traffic study, or do you want to do the delineation study, or what do y'all want to do? Just the traffic study first?
let's go.
I mean, y'all wanna vote on that?
Well, I think we gotta vote on this first,
I don't think we have to vote on the bid.
and then we can table it.
I'm just in favor of tabling it in, I wouldn't do away with it tonight, get all this off behind us, and then work on something else if we have to. We got enough land in the city, it belongs to the city. We could probably trade somebody off land for a piece of land. You know, I can't see why the Armory would not work. We should have took over, if there's tanks still down there, and I think they are, and I'll admit that I think they are, but that house is built over them, and they might have taken them out during the period of time that my dad didn't work there now. They probably are still there, I would assume, but if they're not, the length of time they've been in, it's not like the gas tank now was 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when they started pulling all of them out. You can go in there and look at it, and if the vapors and everything got out, they can leave the tank in the ground. And that might be the reason they built the house over it, the concrete block. But it's gotta have a, gauge on it where you can check it, okay? As far as driving, you know, and I'll give you this as everybody in this room as a reference. If a fire truck, a big red fire truck with big red lights on it can get out of Montclair and a Porto Road in that triangle, then we can get out, make it get out right here on this piece of property. Now, you know, I think we need to deal with this and get it over with tonight. We don't need to sit on it any longer. We need to go ahead. And if we sell the property down there in the waterworks, let me tell you something, folks. This gets to the deal that we're not even cooperating with our own departments in our city. They come to us, they have concerns, and we ought to have enough concerns as theirs that we ought to work with them on it too. Of course, we don't work with nobody apparently. We're gonna do as we please. I think we need to deal with this tonight, get it over to the rest, and get it out of here, and work on something like trying to get businesses in here. I've got a thing from the ISO people out of, from the national office, and it tells you in here, fire department's 50% of what they base it on. Adequate equipment, staffing, evaluation, training, and that kind. Water supply, pressure is 40%. Having water meters in the area where you live, that's 40% of it. And 10% is emergency communications. And they had sent me nothing in here that says anything about 5 miles. And I've had some discussions with some, if you pay $5,000 on a 5 fire rating, then you need to check the insurance company because somebody gouged you. So I think we need to deal with this tonight. We're gonna go ahead and go forward.
All right, anybody else? Well, I wasn't on our ISO meeting, and I know what they said they needed.
Well, I'm telling you, I'll let you look at this piece of paper, and this come from the national office.
I understand,
You know,
we've been
they're
in
the one
contact
that
with
puts it out.
the national office, and, the man who did the actual rating, I was at the room with him, and he told us what we need. Okay,
I make a motion we table letting the bid for the fire station on 119.
I'll second that.
all right,
But in doing that, I would like to, test the Armory side.
traffic study and,
Can't we make those motions separately?
all right. All those in favor of tabling the, bid award for 119, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no.
No,
Okay, that's that. Dennis said no. Did you say no? All right, then, Make it, somebody else got another motion then.
I make a motion, are you talking about for the armory side or for this side?
This side for the bid. Motion that we accept or not accept. Somebody gonna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to do not accept the bids for the 119 site.
Any second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, all right, start from the right, Mr. Walker. You gonna accept or not accept?
Not accept.
Mr. Marty?
Not accept.
So accepted.
Not accept.
Accept it.
Not accept.
All right. Okay. All right. Department head reports.
Well, before we go there, Mayor, I would still like to make the motion that we do studies on the armory side.
All right, what's the motion gonna be?
The traffic study as well as the,
Tonics, what? Yeah, UST.
USD study? The traffic study and USD study at Old Army site on Park Drive.
And one more?
Traffic study, oh no, the other one was on
That was
the
the
19th
So
side.
that was the one that
So if we have to put another lane in the road, that's gonna be our expense, the turn lane.
That's right.
And the echo on that, if we have to do that, it'll be cheaper to do it now than 20 years down the road. But what we do, we protect our water and keep our water clean. And Mayor, I say again, you deserve to be commended for the work that you've done on this here, but myself, speaking about myself, I don't want water to turn off and leave. It's very important. I mean, I sat back in Birmingham, shut everybody's water down. They were buying water. A lot of people were like scared to even use their water to even take a shower. So I just want to see things happening like that.
Appreciate it, Mr. Washington. Anybody else?
Yeah, can I ask why we are doing a traffic study up here, but we didn't do one at 119?
They called.
I mean,
I've already explained it.
I'm asking you.
Called. Aldott told us they would give us a light before the turn, or a light after the turn.
Where were the lights
There was
going?
no crossroads at those two places. All
So
it
the
was
road-
two driveways.
So what I'm asking you though, the red lights were between Presidents
And is that Robert Hill?
That's right,
and Cleveland, I think that's Cleveland.
that's right.
Okay.
No major roads in between the two lights. Out
Okay.
here, if we don't line up the roads, the light, there will be a major road entering between the two lights, plus the traffic coming out of this drive.
But if they use the back entrance, there would not be a major road.
Since the fire station gotta face the back end of it.
Like the
gotta
road
face
that's
the
not
road.
paved right now.
Yeah.
But
Then
they're
the
not
light
gonna-
could be
they're not gonna
on
let you
this
have
side of
that.
Roosevelt and on this.
Do what?
No. I think he's-
That is a dedicated entrance. It's been that way for 40 years.
It's not for Aldott.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, this just the whole thing about it is, we could put that fire station out there if you wanted to, and I think we need to try it too, because on that piece of land, you can line the door up with a roller down if you want to, because way on the land behind it, if we need to scratch out a little of that bank, get in there, we can. I mean, it's not that hard a thing, it's like,
I was just
Well-
asking the question why.
I don't wanna be getting back to like getting a school road. How that was.
yeah. And I guess if we hadn't wasted $750,000 on that road behind Guadalajara that's sitting there for the past year, we'd still have some money to build this stuff with.
That's not our fault.
We didn't do
Yeah, we could've stopped it.
Never.
Yeah, we tried to
No,
stop
we
it,
couldn't.
We did stop. We ran
not too
in
much.
trouble.
Who cares, what about, you know, just.
I mean, anyway, alright. So, it's a motion for traffic study and UST study at the old army site. And,
Second.
Yeah, so,
you gonna second?
yeah, I second.
Alright,
Already second.
alright, all those in favor of the traffic study and the UST study at the old army site to look at the feasibility of having it there, say aye.
Aye.
We're good. So we passed the discussion, that was prior to it. Usually, take most of it, discuss.
Well, the motion's already on the floor.
Okay, well, you know, and I would just like to say, I wish that the mayor and city clerk would provide each council member with that report prior to the council meeting.